On today's episode of Travel Talk Thursdays, we're heading off the African mainland and across the Mozambique Channel to Madagascar, a destination that's been popping up more and more in conversations with our repeat safari guests. I'm joined by Amanda Vermeulen, who is the Sales and Marketing Manager for Madagascar Classic Collection, who look after some of the country's most character-filled camps and on-the-ground experiences. And quietly sitting in with us is our good friend Herbie Rosenberg from Africa Reps Australia, who represents Madagascar Collection here in Australia. Amanda, lovely to have you with us. Where are you joining us from today?
Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm joining you from a small town called Vereniging in South Africa. Yeah, I represent Madagascar Classic Collection, but with the world being so connected nowadays, I'm based in South Africa, just also so that I can connect more easy with all our clients and agents in different time zones.
For listeners who don't know the Madagascar Classic Collection, how do you describe what you do in a couple of sentences?
Yeah, I'm the sales and marketing manager for Madagascar Classic Collection. So it's actually, I think, the best job in the company because I get to tell all the lovely stories about what we do. So Madagascar Classic Collection started in 2007. So we've been around for a while. And then we are a touring company, and we also own our own two lodges in Madagascar. And towards the end of next year, we will be opening our third lodge as well.
And you spent a long time working with lodges and DMCs across Africa. So what drew you specifically to the Madagascar Classic Collection?
I think that yeah, like you said, I worked a lot throughout Africa with different properties. I worked in Mozambique as well as South Africa and some of the other countries. And it's always been wildlife and savannas and things like that. So with Madagascar, anything you've imagined about Madagascar, once you get there, you realize it's whatever you thought is exactly the opposite, or it's completely different. It's such a unique, beautiful country. So it looks very similar to Africa. You see, it's got connections with Africa, but it's just something completely on its own. So the more time I spend there, the more I fall in love with its biodiversity and just the friendly people on the ground and all the amazing experiences that you can have there. People sometimes think because Madagascar is an island that it should be something like Mauritius or the Seychelles or even Mozambique, but it's actually really not. Although it is an island, it's so big and it's got so many different climate zones that it's not your typical picture of a tropical island, and it's also something that makes it very unique. It's a big island where you can experience a lot of different things.
So completely different to the safari, say like Botswana, Tanzania, South Africa. So right from the moment you arrive, I would imagine.
In Madagascar, it's completely different because a lot of the activities are quite inaccessible to vehicles. Most of the activities are done either by canoe or by walking. So
Okay.
people do need to have a bit of physical fitness in order to be able to really enjoy and appreciate it. But yeah, I always joke and say Madagascar has got lots of treasures, but she makes you work for it. So it's early mornings, it's nice walks. But the amazing thing is, it's all the different things that you can see, like the chameleons, the lemurs. Just seeing them up in the trees is something really amazing.
Just for people who are safari aficionados, it'll give them a completely different perspective. So
Yeah,
who's Madagascar perfect for? Who you think it really would love it
yeah.
and who might struggle with it?
I think Madagascar is definitely not a destination for people that want to experience their first safari. So it would be generally for people that have already done the African safari and that are quite now that I've ticked that box. So Madagascar is a destination on its own. So we do get some people that took it onto like an extensive Africa trip, but you do need time to explore Madagascar. So the ideal client would be somebody that wants to experience something completely different, that are happy to be a bit more physically active, and also people that have got a sense of adventure. So the general clients that we have is like from their mid, say 30s to up to 60. We've even had people up to 80. So our guides do flex the activities to suit the fitness level of the guests. But especially if you go to places like the Mantadea National Park, which is one of the biggest rainforests in Madagascar, there is a bit of climbing involved. So
Now, Herbie, you've actually been across there, but you had a fantastic time, didn't you?
It was one of the highlights of my life. I absolutely loved every moment. I've actually been to Madagascar twice. The first time was a very short trip in 2019. Just over a year ago, I went back for 3 weeks. I took a top Australian journalist along. His name was David McGonigal. And as I say, we covered a vast amount of territory. I showed him the Madagascar Collection, Classic Collection camps, as well as several other areas. We absolutely blew his mind. He was absolutely overwhelmed, as I have been, by this amazing destination.
With the camps, the Madagascar Classic Collection camps, Amanda, can you tell us a bit about each of the camps that you have there?
Yes, yeah. Our first camp, or the original camp that we started off with, is Manjari River Camp. So it's actually that lovely picture behind you is the Manjari River. So the camp is based on the edge of the riverbank. So it is a seasonal river. So at the beginning of or at the end of the rainy season, the river is filling the entire bank, and then as the season progresses, the stream becomes a little bit thinner. So I was there in August this year, and then the river was about half the riverbank, and when we were there last week, it was a lot smaller. There's also a lot of life around that area because the focus of at Manjari is mainly on community and conservation. So we're very involved with the local community around there. So a lot of our activities involve visiting community forests, doing night walks, using the local guides, and then also, we have the guys from the local village who come when we've got our baobab evening. They come and do a dance performance for the guests, which they always really enjoy. And then also a lot of the activities involves the conservation projects that's around Manjari. So it's very much a lodge that's connected with its community. On Thursdays also, which is also a fun activity for the guests, is because Madagascar is quite set in their ways, if you can call it like that. So Thursday is market day. So all over Madagascar on Thursdays, you'll see people gathering from early in the morning, making their way through to wherever the local market in their area is. And these local markets are such... it's such an amazing place where the entire community get together, and it's also a place where young people can meet their potential life partners. So everybody dresses up nicely. They're all puffing and fluffing, and it's the zebras and the chickens and the goats, and they've got all their produce that they exchange and sell. You can even buy medicine on a little corner table. So we normally try and take guests there on a Thursday so that they just can experience it a bit. And it's lovely just for walking through there and seeing how the community also live. So that's a big part of what Manjari is all about, is connecting with the community and just also placing the lodge on that side of Madagascar, because the southern part of Madagascar is also one of the driest areas in Madagascar. So around the lodge, apart from the tamarind forest that the lodge is built in, there's a lot of sisal plantations which were built or introduced there by the French. So it's a completely different landscape. And then these spiny forests where we do a lot of our walks, they are completely unique to that area of Madagascar. It's actually, you can't find them anywhere else in the world. It looks like the tree, it's not a cactus, but it looks similar to a cactus. They call them octopus trees. So the reason why it's called an octopus tree is that literally, if you can envision an octopus swimming downwards with its tentacles standing up, that's what this tree looks like. So the tree also has tiny heart-shaped green leaves that are on it. That's actually what the lemurs eat. And the lemurs that live in these trees, their hands are adapted, or their little claws are adapted to when they jump between the trees. trees, that the thorns, because these spiny forest trees are extremely thorny. They don't actually stick into their hands, so their hands are very well protected for that. And then Namaroka, that's our new kid on the block. It's been open now for just over a year. It's up in the northwestern side of Madagascar, so Namaroka Tsingi Camp, as the name implies, is in the Namaroka National Park, which is known for its tsingi. So tsingi is also these limestone rock formations that are found in Madagascar. So there's 3 different places. The most famous one is the Tsingi of Bemara, which is where everybody goes on their bucket list. And then Namaroka Tsingi Park is 220 square kilometers of these Tsingi rock formations. And this national park is quite hard to get to. So that's why there's not a lot of visitors that go there at all. So our guests and our lodge is basically the only visitors in that entire area. So we work very closely with Wildlife Madagascar up there. They have researchers, field researchers that are in the national park all day long. So since the lodge has opened, or since we've been around, they've actually discovered new bat species. They've increased their list of lemurs, so fossils in the caves, because Namaroka also has the largest cave system in Africa. So it's quite an amazing place. So walks there generally, because the area is a bit more remote, you have to fly in there. We do scheduled air charters twice a week up to Namaroka. So at the moment, the air charters go to an airfield called Swalala. It's actually quite an adventure to get to the lodge, because you land at Swalala, then you are taking to the little harbor of the Swalala village, where you then take a ferry across the pond and across the little bit of lake, and then on the other side you get onto a 4x4 vehicle, and then you are transferred for 2 hours up to the lodge. So this transfer is almost like taking a rally drive through the countryside. We always send our guides with, just to explain to the guests also what they are seeing along the road, because there's paddy fields, there's little villages, you see raffia plantations. So they get quite a good sense of, the way of living in that area, just on the road to the lodge. Then at the lodge itself, the accommodation, similar to Manjari, is in East Africa safari-style tents. And it's very comfortable, spacious tents with their own bathrooms. At Namaroka, we've also got outside showers. And the main lodge area is built in between the tsingi, so people immediately get that sense of where they are. And then all our activities are done inside the Namaroka National Park. So they've got a guide that walks with them. And then, so the guide walks with them. We do make use of local guides as well. And then, all our guides are English speaking and extremely knowledgeable about that whole region. And then inside the park itself, there's about 10 species of lemurs. There's amazing bird life in the parks. We've got a huge roost of flying foxes. There's huge bats. They've got a wingspan of over 1.5 meters, so they're quite impressive to see. The roost that we've got up there is a colony that's almost 6,000 bats strong. The lodge is also seasonal, so we've just now closed for the end of the season, so we'll be reopening again in May next year. The reason for that is also because the Tsingi flood. So as the rainy season starts, and I think that's also what contributes to the amazing animal life that you see there. As the rainy season starts, the water levels start to rise. So those caves at the bottom of the Tsingi all fill up with water, and then the whole area actually becomes completely inaccessible. So people just can't go there. Then lastly, Manafiafi. It's down at the bottom of Madagascar. So in the southern part of Madagascar, it's about 100 kilometers from Fort-de-Fin. So Manafiafi we call it a beach and rainforest lodge. So the lodge has got a rainforest that's close to it, as well as a mangrove forest, where we do our activities and then the rooms are situated along the edge of the bay. So it's quite a beautiful spot. And then your attraction is definitely going to visit doing your canoe safaris on the water, visiting the mangrove forest, and then also doing the walks in the rainforest.
But now, outside of those areas, are there any other areas that you would recommend people visiting in Madagascar when booking a trip?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, with Madagascar, because the connections or getting around is quite difficult. We always try to tell people not to try and do too much or to try and fit in too many destinations in a short period of time, because also something that people need to remember about Madagascar is in order to connect with your scheduled air charters or your flights, the national airline is quite unreliable. So you can't always bank on your connections happening as they should. So people often have to work in a night or two around their itinerary to come back to Antananarivo, which is the capital city. The main areas that we normally recommend to guests is obviously we suggest our camps, but then also there's Andasi Bay, which is the main rainforest area, which is about 4 hours drive from Antananarivo. So that's also an activity that we always include. The reason why we include Andasi Bay is it's got the primary rainforest called Mantadia, which is where you'll find the Indri. It's the largest lemurs in Madagascar. And that's quite a huge experience for people to go and view that. So in Andasi Bay, you've also got a primary forest and you've got a secondary forest. The lemurs that you can see there includes the Indri, as I said, it's the golden brown lemurs, and then you've also got a lot of other lemurs like your mouse lemurs, the sportive lemurs, all of that. So they do a lot of day walks and night walks. Then other areas we also work with, which combines well, if you're doing the north, which combines well with Namaroka, is to also go, there's a lodge called Motswala, which is also a rainforest and beach lodge, very similar to Namaroka in experience. So it's just this beautiful wild rainforest area that people do their activities in. So it's amazing for bird life, for seeing your amphibian species, chameleons, all of that, and also the orchids, the flowers. So lovely things to experience. Just something interesting about the rainforest at Motswala is it's actually bigger than Mauritius. And then if people also want to have a beach experience towards the end of their stay, there's a couple of different areas that we can recommend. There's the island of Sainte Marie, which is quite well known for whale watching, especially from about August, September. They've even got a whale festival there. And on that island, there's a couple of lodges that we work with quite well. One of them is called Vuara Lodge, and then there's also another one, Princesa Bora, that's on there. And then we work quite well also with Andanjavi, which is a chateau and relay property that's up in the north of Madagascar. And that one is, it's also an amazing property. It's this beautiful beach bungalows set right on the beach. And then behind you, you've got this lovely garden. You've also got the forest. And they've got lemurs that through years have been quite habituated. If people are interested in experiencing more tropical beach destinations, then there's Nosy Bay, which is really amazing. There's a few properties there that we work with quite regularly. The ones that stand out for us there's Home de Residence, which is like villas where people can, if somebody is a more independent traveler and that wants to have more privacy with their family, then these villas are really great for that, because you've got your own proper villa with everything you can imagine. They even have swimming pools. Then you've got Tsarakomba Lodge, which is a time and tide property that is on an island called Nosy Kamba. And then one of my favorites, which is also about an hour away from Nosy Bay, is called Tsara Banjina. It's it's also a place, it reminds you, or it makes you think that you're in the Seychelles or in the Maldives. The water is like blue, 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 and you can literally see from top to bottom. So the entire island consists of the lodges, the island, So it's very private. And then there's a small fishing village on the other side where they get their seafood from. So the food up there is absolutely exquisite. They do amazing water activities. So obviously, if people have got bucket list experience like visiting the Avenue of the Baobabs or something like that, we can definitely work it into the itinerary. With the Avenue of the Baobabs, we just always recommend to people is if you've got a bit more time, because it's also you have to take a flight with the national air carrier to get to that region, and then it's a long drive by car. It's the only attraction in that area, so you need to just plan that it will take you about 3 days.
I remember one of the trips you booked for us recently is that people were flying down back to itinerary, but somewhere else back again. Yeah. The
That's
best
so
months to
much,
visit are generally sort of May through to about October. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. May through to October, and then a lot of the lodges and properties actually close down from about the beginning of January to the end of March, just to not have clients there during cyclone season. So they don't get bad cyclones every year, but it is the rainy season, or the best time to visit the rainforest, or the peak time is end of September, October time, because that's when you've got all your baby lemurs, you've got your
Nice.
birds in their breeding plumage, you've got all your amphibians is active. So that is a really good time to visit, but it's also very wet at that time in the rainforest. So, but I always find if you just know in advance that you have to pack your good walking shoes, your rain jacket, your hat, your headlamp. If you're prepared, then you can weather it, because it's all part of the experience.
What's your favorite species and why?
To be quite honest with you, I really enjoy watching the lemurs. So I find they're such a curious, cute animals. It's maybe they won't want to be called cute, but they're such unique, different kind of animals. Because if you look at them, you're not sure if you're looking at a monkey or a cat, but they're neither of those.
Any particular species?
I enjoy watching the Safikas, the white ones.
Okay. Yes.
We've got different ones around both of our lodges. Yeah, in Madagascar, you've actually got 117 species of different lemurs. So it's quite fascinating. Just when you go into it, because I was chatting with a scientist the other day, and she said when she started working in Madagascar, the Lemurs of Madagascar book was like this thick, and she says now it's a book like this. So every year there's more discoveries being made. So around the bottom, so in the south, in the spiny forest, you get the Varroa saficas. So what makes them so interesting for me is that they don't drink water at all. They basically get their moisture from licking the leaves, or from just chewing the leaves. So they're so well adapted to the area where they live in. They're also quite funky, because they're very gracious when they're in the trees, but the minute they get to the ground, they're very awkward. So that's also why I call them the dancing lemurs, because they'll be running around on their back feet, like doing this little hop, going along. And then up in the north, you see a lot of the brown lemurs. The brown lemurs make me think of your, the funny kids that like to make jokes. One that I also find quite funky is the sportive lemurs. Once you see them, they're quite vocal at night. It's a nocturnal lemur. So you often hear them on your night walks, and then sometimes you also get to see them, or oftentimes people see them as sitting there and they don't close their eyes. So it's got this huge eyes, almost like a bush baby, that stays open, but this lemur is fast asleep. And then the other cute ones that's also nocturnal is the mouse lemurs. They're the smallest lemur species. So when you find them, or if you find them during the day, they normally huddle together in a family group of like 4, but then at night they scatter out, so each one goes in its own direction to go and forage for food. So they're about this size,
Cute,
so very cute furry animals, yes. And and then obviously the chameleons. I also find
that's something
chameleon species.
that's one of my big bonuses. I'd love the chameleons.
Yeah, no, and it's there's so many different ones of them. There's actually 50% of the world's chameleon species are also found in Madagascar. So yeah, there's quite a lot to see and experience. Yes.
Mm. And then, of course, there's all the marine life as well. So
Now you get the whales migrating through, and then this time of year, you also get the whale sharks that come up to the Nosy Bay area. So that's also something that guests always look forward to see, and even the turtles.
So what's one word guests most often use in your feedback? Can you think of
I
anything?
think, wow. Yeah, so it's an adventure. It's not as polished as a lot of the experiences you'll experience, in some of the more upmarket lodges in Africa, because it's a lot more rough and raw and rustic, I think is the nice word. But it's such an adventure that touches your soul. And the people around Madagascar are such amazingly friendly people. So wherever you go, in the little villages, because 80% of Madagascar's population actually still live rural. So they live in wooden huts. It depends on the area where you visit. It's either these palm leaf huts or it's wooden huts. And their sense of community is actually so admirable because the whole community is always together. So all the little kids play together. They're very friendly. They wave when cars drive past.
And you do a lot in terms of community and putting back into the environment and to the communities there as well, don't you?
Yes, we do. Especially down at Manjari, we've got quite a few conservation projects that we are running. A portion of the guests' accommodation cost is also, there's a section that we pay over to our conservation efforts. So down at Manjari, the money that we give towards that, it helps with reforestation, because that's one of the biggest challenges that Madagascar and Madagascar's wildlife is facing is the loss of habitat. So it's the deforestation. And the reason why so much of the forest is disappearing so quickly is because people need firewood. So they do the slash and burn to make charcoal, because a lot of the people need charcoal for their to cook. On average, a Malagasy family will use about 500 kilograms of charcoal per year, which is quite amazing if you think about it. Yeah. So one of the projects that we have been doing down at Manjari is actually they started to produce charcoal, but they make it from the sisal byproducts. So these sisal trees, bushes, once they are finished, they take these and then they turn them into charcoal. So they've been making these charcoal briquettes. So since 2024, we've made over 5 tons of charcoal briquettes. And then there's a non-profit organization that we work with that also built little stoves where people can use these charcoal briquettes in, and that, according to their statistics, have reduced people's need for traditional charcoal by between 50 and 80%. Wow. So, and it makes a huge difference for especially that region. So that's one of the projects that's really close to our hearts, is to try and get our charcoal distributed as far as possible, just so that people can have an alternative source of charcoal.
That's
and not
fantastic,
just
because that's so good for the community. It so makes life living so much easier, but it's also good for the environment.
Yeah. One of the other projects that they've got where the community is also involved is they are building a seed bank. So the community also gets paid for collecting seeds for reforestation, collecting the seeds and bringing them, and then we buy the jars of seeds from them, and then also planting trees. So over the last couple of years, they've planted over 100,000 trees back into that environment around there. So a lot of these projects, like I said, we try to involve the community as much as possible, because especially around Manjari's side, we've noticed that the more the community is involved in the conservation efforts, the better chance you have of being successful, because a lot of these forests are called sacred forests. And if it's a sacred forest, it means that it's protected by the community and the elders of the community. So people are not allowed to go and hunt lemurs there or to do anything like that in the forest or cut the wood down. And up at Namarokka, we work a lot with Wildlife Madagascar, so they've also got a lot of projects working. They're actually very excited. They'll be working with us from next year. They'll also be coming down to Manjari, and once Manafiafi open, they'll be working in the rainforest at Manafiafi as well. So we're very happy about that association, because they've also brought a lot of attention and scientific backing to what's happening there, and that also helps.
That's fantastic. Well, I think we're going to finish off there. Amanda, thanks very, very much for joining us and coming in all the way from Vereniging. And it's been fantastic working with you so far. And Herbie's obviously always on standby as well to assist. Herbie's out in Australia, source of information, and he's always helping out with bits and pieces. Thank you both for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much, Sean. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you.